There we are. Okay, see you all in an hour. So in the great battle at the beginning of the book Bhagavad Gita, it is Lord Krishna that is driving the chariot for Arjuna. And Arjuna's job is to start the war. But the whole book is not about the war. Rather, it is about the instruction that Lord Krishna gives to Arjuna. And the instruction starts with Arjuna being in doubt and worry and struggling to begin what appears to be about a war, but in truth is about his internal battle with his own ego. And this worry and doubt means he is questioning whether he should fight or not fight, representing whether he should do the work to defeat his ego or not. There are many discussions which occur and much advice given. But there's one part I wish to bring to mind. And Arjuna is full of the physical world and feels all the pressures of the world, and Lord Krishna describes to him and says that as soon as the senses touch a physical object or an object of sense, there is a certain quality that is triggered within the body of the being. Now this seems quite rather basic to begin with, but it is much deeper. But in essence, he's saying once the senses register a certain object outside, then there is much more that takes place, as the human then decides whether this object is enjoyable or not. So, for example, if a being was living a hot day, then a cold shower is wonderful. But if it's a cold day, then maybe a hot shower would be wonderful. But there are other times when one may say that the cold shower is not to be enjoyed and you cannot enjoy it. And you may even argue and complain and say that cold shower is not right. And the water should be a different temperature. So the point being is the issue is not the temperature of the water, but it is the judgment that is made by one who interacts with the water and then says, this is a good thing or this is a bad thing. But the interaction is also based upon many other circumstances, whether the day is hot or cold, whether the mind is still or not still. So do you judge your life as soon as your senses touch an object? Do you judge it as being good or bad? Do you judge it according to the circumstance of your day and your mood? If you are elated, then nothing is a problem. But if you are not elated, then everything can be a problem. So the touch of one thing to another is not the issue. The issue is those senses interact with the brain and the mind. And then a whole series of events can occur. And the mind then creates obstacles of what it can do, should do, or the way the world should look. So the mind, when it is unruly, will determine your viewpoint of the world and say that this is not the way it should be. But the viewpoint of the world, again, can be bypassed if one truly looks at something with a clear mind. And you look at an event, or you look at hot water or cold water, and just accept them the way they are. The judgment shows you that there is something to be healed within. an expectation, a desire, maybe an avoidance that you do not like. So all of these, of course, are in part attached to memory and attached to ego. But you may say that this is not the way it should be. So can you interact with the world with a clear mind? Can you just accept that water is water? Can you accept that it's going to perform uses according to different moods? And can you be free from the mood and the judgment? So you affect your life by whether your ego is in control, or whether your memory is running. But today is today. The event is the event. Life is just life. But what you add to it causes the misery. When you associate it and say it should be another way. But in truth, it should be exactly the way it is. So the judgment causes resistance. It causes pain and angst. It causes difficulty, and then you say that you want to change something. So maybe you look at another person, you say that person is not a friend of mine, and you do not like them, or you do not like their mood, or what they stand for, or what they represent. And this is you viewing them on the surface rather than understanding them on their depth. Behind their physical form is the same consciousness that looks through your eyes. If you see the physical form, then you will judge them as being too tall or too short. But if you look behind, they are the consciousness that's witnessing their play of karma and nothing more. They are interacting with their life in the way that their karma will allow them to. So do you see the other person in that same quality as the water is either too hot or too cold? Do you want them to change? Can you not accept that they are the way they are? But in truth, they are a being of light and of love. And you are that very person that's playing in front. So their view of the play is very much different to yours. And you will notice that two people viewing the same scene will describe it very differently. As one will see it through their eyes, and you will see it through yours. And your eyes and their eyes are tainted according to what you require. But there are many more senses than one perceives. And in a little while we'll go into that description. But let us now take a pause. And Brandon, if you are willing, please, may I have the healing list of names?
Yes. Ross, Anthony and Susan Collins, Sheila, Paul and Wendy, Bob and Doris, Sharon, Bill, Nicole, Brian, Jody, Pam, Deb, Stacy, Lauren, Mistuki, Mark, Taylor and Suzette, Chris and Howard Wielden, Mike Eskins, Evie Johnston, Monica, Kat, and Michelle. Thank you.
May I just ask, for those who are in front of the medium now, If you have another name that you wish to add, please call that name now. In some descriptions, they say that there are 5 senses. And commonly people like to add 1 or 2. But these are the senses which look outwards. There are also another 5 senses of mind which look inwards and deal with the interaction of the world. So there is the act of judgment and comparison when one looks at life and others. But you see, all of these senses are just the way the consciousness touches, interacts with the world. And that interaction then causes the world to come to life. And one believes that the world then is either hot or cold, for example. And then that further judgment of that being good or bad is the internal world. But you see, there are 2 aspects to the subconscious mind. There is the subconscious mind, which is full of movement and creativity. And this then creates and observes. But there is also the still part of the subconscious mind. And this stillness waits and watches and waits for instruction if it is to be given. This is the subconscious part of the mind which is then used to create the world. So the mind then becomes still, waits for instruction. The active part of the mind creates, and the world comes to life. And further judgments start to occur, and one feels very bound within the life when one feels the touch, the smell, the sight of whatever is being touched. And the more one associates with these senses, the more one feels that they are in the world. But if one can turn off the sense or place their attention in another position, then the senses will close down. So if you stop and concentrate on peace rather than sight or sound, when you concentrate on that peace and you hold your concentration there, then there is no perception of what is around you. And one may say, I got lost in the peace. I disappeared for a while. I was absorbed in it. I was one with it. So if the world does become difficult for you, and you do not like the water, whether it is hot or cold, then you may change your focus and attention to something else. Peace, of course, is just one thing. Love, joy, contentment, the touch of spirit, the feeling of potential that is deep inside. You could even enjoy yourself in exploring your depth. And all of this will give you a feeling that you have turned off the exterior world. And as you concentrate truly on yourself and even let go that exploration that I have mentioned before, then there is a feeling of loss of self. And the world becomes dark and time seems to disappear and you are lost in this nothing for a while. And yet you are not lost at all. But you have removed your attention to the physical. And in doing so, you have revealed your true nature. Your true nature is one which is not disturbed by the world, but is full of all possibility, and yet, if it wishes, may focus on just one corner of life. So often people say that I disappeared into nothing. I was not here. I was gone for the blink of an eye, but it appears an hour was gone. And in this time, the question may naturally arise, was I there or was I not there? Was my consciousness still working or was it not working? And if then, similar to sleep, I suppose, although sleep is different, are you conscious while you are asleep? Now, many would say when they look at their life that I close my eyes at 10 and wake at 6, and I do not know what happened apart from a little dream here and there. So I could not have been there. But there are many explorations and questions we could use to discover whether that is true. And the truth that must be understood is the act of consciousness and the act of awareness is part of your true nature. And if that is your truth, then you cannot lose your truth. You cannot stop being that. And therefore, of course, you must have to agree that in sleep you cannot stop being what your essence really is. But that's not the way you perceive it. You perceive, you close your eyes, and then you open them, and somewhere in the middle is 8 hours. How can I be conscious when in 8 hours it occurred in just a few blinks of the eye? Where was I? Now, the truth is, as I said, you are conscious in that state. And in fact, the fallacy is that you do not remember. You do not remember that you are that process of sleeping. But how did you know that you were asleep? You know when you're asleep. And yet it is very difficult to really judge and to find. But there is no difference whether you are open-eyed or closed-eyed, but your attention has gone to another place. Rather than being in the physical world in your waking state, in your sleep state, your attention has gone to yourself, the purity of you. The purity of you is empty of existence, yet all existence exists within it. And there is no feeling of time and no feeling of distance and space. But to a trained mind, and it does take some work, but to a trained mind, one in their sleep or so-called sleep state, may visit other worlds and other lands and other times, not in imagination, but in reality. And you may fall asleep under a tree. And if you are sufficiently evolved, others may witness you walking in another city. And yet one was asleep under a tree, and there are witnesses to say you were there. So you could be in two locations or more. And this is an actual fact of what you could do if you trained yourself to do it. It does take some evolution, and it does take some knowledge and skill, but it's not a skill that is beyond you. But as I said, it would take some development. So being in bilocation could actually mean that when you fall asleep, you are not living your life in one place, you are living a life in another. And you live in one city and maybe another. But of course, that is just a possibility. But it's an interesting one, isn't it? It is interesting because I am sure there are a few listening saying, how? How do I learn that? But of course, this means that there is an interconnection between one city and another. And you would know within your belief and exploration of your spiritual world that the consciousness that looks through one eye looks through another. And therefore, there is a shift of focus from looking through one set of eyes to the other and living or experiencing a very different life. And you do get glimpses of this. Glimpses where you may look at your existence and it feels not real. You look in the mirror and it scares you. You think, is that really me? But you may withdraw your consciousness from it and view somewhere else. This, of course, means there is knowledge of another life of another person in another city. But you already touch other lives. You touch the life of one person next to you or just across the way. And you know things about them. And you know things about them that you should not know. You may know what they did before, what they will do later, or what is occurring in the present. But your focus and attention must first go from yourself to them. Is that not the start of bilocation, but in a very small way? Is that then the knowledge that you pick up of Bob or Mary that's somewhere over there? And you would say, I do that because I pick up the touch of energy, but they may be on the opposite side of the world. So as you change your focus from your senses to your interaction with the world, you may refocus on someone else's in another town or city, or even another time. But you see, this involves playing with the play, manipulating the play so it fits within what you wish to see. And you may change the play according to, well, firstly, your mood, but secondly, your intention, and thirdly, with your skill. So you may interact with that world and say, I do not like it. Let us change it. And as mentioned in the Bible, you say to mountain, move, and mountain will move. And that is as simple as that. But this can only occur if you are skilled at stepping back from the play and understanding the interaction between you and that play. Knowing that you are the creator. You have created the viewpoint you see, and you live and endure according to the view. And as you create, then you must live. So you must live according to the experiences that you once created. So if you caught anger, of course, you must live by that anger. If you have caused love and given love, eventually you must lie down in the blanket of love that you created. So you do change your world. And you do change it by being who you truly are. Not from the act of interacting with the senses, but by establishing yourself in your truth. By being in the silence and stillness and allowing all your creation, manipulation and enjoyment and the projection of the world to be as it is. You see, you are not meant to solely just exist. You're meant to understand and be just as creative as the creator, because you are cut from the same cloth. So that creator and creation must first come from the aspect of stillness and silence, because that's what happens in your sleep state. You go back to your truth, unless you want to go visit another place. And as you go back into that truth, that is when you talk to the mountain and ask it to move. So you must purely bring yourself into that truth and allow all that you are to be visible all in front of you. Now, some people would say that they already practice something similar in terms of manifesting their dreams. And I'm sure there's many that are listening that says, well, I wanted that, and there it is. I wanted a new client, a new friend, a new partner, someone to love, and someone to love me. And if your intention is true, and if you honor your heart and sit from the silence creativity, then indeed that is the scene that you will view in front of you. And they will look according to what you have asked for, in the way that you have asked. But that asking will be manipulated by your karma. So if you wanted something very special and your karma is so poor, it may look very different to what you truly asked for. But all of this is in secret, because all of this means you must first find yourself and sit in your essence. And if you are to be the truth of creativity, then you must understand that what you create, you live by. And therefore, what your life is a result of who you are, and a result of your vibration, and a result of what has hindered and held you for some time. So you create according to your vibration. And if you are pure, then what you will see and create will be equally pure. But if you are so full of an egotistical life, then you will be given the drama to the same level that your ego is. A big ego will gain big dramas. But the essence of peace will always deliver peace. So therefore, the true healing and the true manifestation will come in its purest form by one who is as still and as quiet. And asks for what is truly meant. And their vibrational rate will mean that is what's done. And the world will match what your interior world looks like. But all too frequently, if you are prepared, and if you are truly asking, and if you truly have a block or an obstacle that you cannot get round, then your own higher self, perhaps beyond the knowledge that you know, will deliver to you your teacher, will deliver to you your guide, will deliver to you your pathway, and shine a light upon it and say, this, my dear, is your truth. So often you can look and see that the light of another is as equal to your hidden light, and therefore you can see the light on what may be your darkest days. But this, of course, must mean that you are willing and able to view that. So take some time to stand back from your senses. Stand back from the touch of your senses to whatever object your senses touch. Watch your mind, how it says this is good or bad. Watch your mind that its creation is hindered by the vibration or desires I have. Be pure as you can in your thought, and know that the process of thought will give you the process of creation, or stand back from it all. Switch off the world, switch off your thoughts, and witness your pure self, the self that is still, that is without form, that is forever present, whether you are asleep or not, and is always with you. It asks nothing. It does not change. It cannot leave. So be that. Notice your temptations for pleasure when what you truly require is love. So be with what is true. Be with what is permanent. Become aware of your own self, which sits joined to all other selves, and together they create the play of life. Until our next meeting. God bless you all. I'll keep focus there. There's people. Okay, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it. Next one will be early October, after a short vacation. So I will see you all then. Bye.
Thank you so much, Mark. Have a safe
Okay.
trip.
Thanks, man. Take care. Bye.
Take care, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye for now.
Bye for now.